Hello, everybody. It's Tamara here, Chief Dragon Officer at the Dragon Academy. And this video is for educators and those working with young people at primary school age in the education setting. I'm going to talk through a short presentation about the What Color is Your Dragon program for education, and specifically the Learning to Love Your Dragons curriculum, which is for early years, Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. So grab a cup of tea, find a comfortable place to sit down, and I will just open the presentation now for you to see. So the name of the program is What Color is Your Dragon? And this is a trauma-informed approach to mental and emotional well-being for young people in the school setting, but also for the teachers, the teaching assistants, and the school administration. It's unique in that it really emphasizes creativity, movement, and is based on neuroscientific principles. What Color is Your Dragon is a program that was conceived by myself and child and adolescent psychologist Raquel Lulier, who works in Brazil. And it's grown into an international team of teachers, psychologists, and mindfulness professionals, and particularly those who want to do mindfulness differently, working with movement, with creativity, and also learning about the brain and what's happening in the brain, as we consider this to be vital information for youngsters to know about. The What Color is Your Dragon program blends mindfulness, creativity, psychology insights, and storytelling. And it's for children of all ages, but this particular curriculum focuses on up to Key Stage 2, which is sort of year 5, year 6 in the UK. So up to roughly about age 10 or 11. And our main intention is to find fun and playful ways to help develop emotional intelligence. This is our core team here, myself, Raquel Lulier, and our What Color is Your Dragon education lead in the UK, Mary Louise Morris, who has a great deal of experience in offering mindfulness to children in the school setting. And it was her work that extended the program that we offer for parents and children in the clinic into the school setting, designing the worksheets, the PowerPoints, the lesson plans, so teachers can easily deliver the Learning to Love Your Dragons curriculum in schools. And we have a number of other collaborators and people that work on our team as well. So emotional intelligence, we believe, is a core skill to train our young people in. Often when we're working with children and families in the clinic, the parents often say, why wasn't I taught this at school? And that's a really great question to ask, because there's lots of things we do learn at school, but some of those core skills about how we relate to ourselves, our emotions, and to each other are not often there. And we believe this is a vital, vital life skill. And the earlier we can teach this, the better. We use 3 colored dragons to represent the 3 different motivational systems of the brain. The red dragon representing the threat system, the blue dragon representing the drive system, and the green dragon representing the soothing system, also sometimes called the rest and digest system. This is an approach from evolutionary psychology, and it's been particularly elaborated by Professor Paul Gilbert in his compassion-focused therapy approach. And so we draw on that model, but this is very different from compassion-focused therapy in that it's conducted in the classroom. It's primarily designed as a preventative mental health approach, what I sometimes call mental wealth development. And it's a classroom-friendly approach that can help not only the young people in the classroom, but also the teachers and the school team to create psychologically safe environments where we can all thrive. And the dragon's language that we train is something that is cross-generational and also cross-cultural. I work with the Dragons language with adults and in the business sector as well, because it's a simple, common language where we can begin to share our experiences and our motivations in a way that's not overly vulnerable. So I can talk about my red dragon, but I don't really need to go into all the gory details about my red dragon and what's going on for me, but I am able to communicate with others and say, I'm not feeling great today. My red dragon is with me, and maybe I need to do something to bring my green dragon in to help me soothe. And we're very much oriented with a theoretical foundation from neuroscience and what we understand is happening in the brain when different sorts of emotional experiences arise. And the evolutionary psychology model suggests that we have these core 3 motivational systems of the brain, the red, green, and blue dragons, as we call them. And it is from this that the body and mind responds with different emotional states and different mental states. And because it's a really creative approach designed on core principles, what teachers have said about the Dragon method is that they can really grow and evolve in their own classrooms and their own contexts. So in that respect, there is a course curriculum, but it's what we call protocol free, because we want teachers to really get into it and find their own ways to bring the dragons into the classroom and also across the curriculum that they're teaching. We have 5 dragon principles, and our primary aim is to create compassionate schools where everybody can thrive. It's not about turning the school into a psychology service, but it's about nudging us a bit more towards an openness to having dialogue about how our red dragons express themselves in different ways, how our blue dragons, our focus and our learning can be different depending on our cognitive style, and how we all need to rest and restore and feed our green dragons. But we have many different ways that we might want to do that, and we're all different. We have 2 ways. So the language of the dragon gives us a language to share our experiences and also permission to talk about these things, particularly red dragon, in ways that are non-blaming and non-shaming. And it's based on these 3 motivational states of the brain. And there's 4 learning processes there. One is remembering that we all have dragons, and we all have 3 dragons. If you're a mammal and you've got warm blood, then for sure you've got 3 dragons. It's about getting familiar with the dragons through games and play and storytelling and sharing and classroom displays. It's then about learning to monitor our dragons. And this is the key skill. I teach this to adults in my clinic, in my coaching, people that I work with in universities, medical students, learning to monitor through that process of checking our bodies, our minds, and our movements, which dragon is with me and what do I need to do next to be skillful and to get my work done. And the sharing is vital. This is the core human experience, that we all have dragons, and being able to share them and talk about them, we believe, is one of the key ways that stops some of those processes that end up with children needing to come to the clinic, because often that's about, I can't share, I'm keeping it in, I'm feeling ashamed, I don't know how to talk about it. And then from that comes some of the challenges that then lead to the problem being much bigger than it needs to be. And dragons have 5 movements, which we study: the movement of the body, the movement of our posture, the movement of our breath, the movement of our minds, and the movements of emotions through the body. And so we use mindfulness as a core way to help to develop that self-awareness that really is the cornerstone of emotional intelligence. So our model is a little bit different. We're really coming at this from a whole schools approach. This is a language that's not just for teachers to teach the young people, it's also for use in the staff room, in the team meetings, in the governors' meetings, a way for the whole community to begin to learn how to speak dragon. We really prioritize the creative means: drawing, coloring, storytelling, making stick dragons, even sewing or knitting dragons as a way to support exploration of the 3 dragons in our lives. with this emphasis on movement and creativity, we are trauma informed. So this has been an issue in the mindfulness work about asking youngsters that have got trauma or adverse childhood experiences to sit still and be with their experiences. That can be a bit overwhelming. And we've got experience from our pilot studies that this works very well with children with special educational needs as well, with some adaptations. But the simplicity of the 3 colors and the creativity that teachers are allowed in terms of how they want to teach it really makes it work well for special education needs classrooms. It's an adaptive and simple framework, which is easy to deliver and understand. Sometimes that belies the profoundness of it. So while we found that people can get going with it quite quickly, actually the deeper you go into it, the more profound the learning is, and some extra training is required just to make sure you understand, you know, it's more than what it first seems. And what teachers love is that we're talking about Blue Dragon, which is attention, focus, concentration, and information processing. These are all the skills that we need to increase learning in the classroom and increase those opportunities for learning for all the youngsters in the classroom. Having the language of the red dragon reduces the stigma of not being okay when things are not okay. And we've really found that the youngsters, the children, love to talk about their red dragon. When they're given the freedom to talk about their red dragon, so much comes out that we maybe didn't know about before. And core to this is the development of self-compassion and kindness, whether that's kindness to ourselves when our red dragon emerges and perhaps we're getting agitated and distressed. You know, that's okay. Let's listen to our red dragon and see what messages the red dragon has. Or perhaps we're struggling with our blue dragon and we can't do our maths homework, or we're not following in class. And again, that orientation of compassion, like, it's okay, but let's get curious. Let's put some language to it. What's happening for your blue dragon? Is it tired? Is it confused? Is it bored? Is it not motivated? Does it need the information in a different way? So the language of the dragons opens all of this up for us. And we're following the guidance, recent guidance here from the UK government about how do we do a whole schools approach to mental health and well-being in the education system. And I can put down below a copy to where you can find this document. But the What Color is Your Dragon approach covers all of these 8 principles. We have some coaching and some training for leadership and management, which is right there in the middle of the bubble there. We've got the curriculum currently across 3 key stages: early years foundation, key stage 1, key stage 2. In the key stage 2, we've got something called Dragon Champions, which is support for the young people who can be Dragon Champions in the school and help to support their peers. There's parts of the program which are about supporting staff well-being. And fundamentally, when we start talking and sharing the language of the dragons, it's a natural way that we can begin to monitor what's going on in the classroom by looking at the colors of the dragons that the children are sharing. And this can help us identify if there are red dragons around that are sort of more acute and maybe just something to do with a situation that's just arisen in the moment, or perhaps beginning to notice when there's red dragons are around that might mean that we need to do something else and perhaps refer on to another service. Dragons at Home is a program that Raquel and I have been working on for many years. And within the What Color is Your Dragon program, we've got some support that can be offered to parents, particularly about managing their own red dragons, because that's always the first step in the clinic when a child and a family comes, is helping the parents to regulate their own red dragons and amplify the possibility for the child to see different ways of not being okay that are kinder and more skillful. And the overarching ethos is we all have dragons. Whether you're a leader, a teacher, a pupil, a parent, we all have dragons, and it's okay. Let's share what makes us green. Let's share how we express our reds, and let's share what we can understand about how we process information and learn. And so you can see here this little dragon. It's all 3 colors. And we start off the program by breaking apart the different colors, studying them individually. But by the end of it, it's more nuanced, and we're able to share, well, I'm a bit red right now because I'm recording, and I'm a bit nervous about that, and I'm hoping that things go well. And my blue dragon is with me because I'm trying to focus and remember what I have to say. But I'm also feeling extremely green in my heart because this is a piece of work that's very dear to me. How do we work preventatively with mental health and make it so we don't need to refer our youngsters into the child and adolescent mental health services? What can we do when we've got some of this knowledge and principles? And we've had a few real Dragon Warrior teachers that have been helping us over the years to pilot the dragon work. And Julie Atwell is a particularly powerful Dragon Warrior who not only used the dragons for her classroom, but was also really using them to develop self-compassion for her own experiences and her own dragons. And I'll give you a moment just to read the testimonial that she wrote there. I love that last sentence, and the feeling that more than ever, we are all in this together. She was working with this method during COVID, so it was particularly important. So if you're a school interested in this, we have a 5-step approach, and that starts by talking to you and the leadership of the school in order to understand strategic objectives and what it is that you want to change in your school culture. And then we begin by embedding the dragons within the school team. This is about supporting educator well-being, followed by training, delivery, and then integration. So it's a journey with each school to step by step really set some solid foundations within the leadership team, bring it into ways of working with the staff team, and there's already huge benefits for that. Then some of the training, which is hybrid training, a mixture of face-to-face training and also our app, then going into the delivery with some support from our team, and then integrating that. And what we found in our pilot study is that the teachers that really embodied it themselves found it very easy to integrate the language of the dragons into other parts of the curricula. This is sometimes referred to as the golden thread. It's not just about keeping it in the PHSE lessons. It's about weaving emotionally intelligent language across all the different curricula and finding those opportunities where the language of the dragon can be reinforced and used elsewhere. So we've done a number of pilot studies now, but our largest pilot was last year with some mental health support team facilitators who were working with schools in Berkshire, the UK. So we had 6 schools, 2 with special needs, 8 trainers. Roughly, they delivered 8 sessions, but there's some flexibility there. And 177 students in year 5 had this opportunity to work with the dragons. They covered the 5 themes of the Learning to Love Your Dragons curriculum. And this was really Mary Louise's work, where she designed the lesson plans, the worksheets, the different exercises, and also the PowerPoint presentations, which are all available on the app so that teachers can easily download them and deliver them. And we gave a lot of flexibility for how this was delivered, because you're the teacher, you know your students, you know your classroom, you know the context of your work more than we do. And so with this flexibility comes a downside, I suppose, which is it makes it a little bit more difficult to evaluate from a research perspective, but it makes it much more contextually relevant, which is something that many teachers have spoken about in terms of delivering protocols of mindfulness in schools. And it also allows the teachers to grow into the method in their own way, which really gives them ownership and confidence, we found. Here's a beautiful classroom display that one of the schools did. And this really keeps the language of the dragons alive in the school community. So one of the teaching assistants felt that it was really helpful to use the dragons to support the youngsters to express their feelings and emotions. And the children were quite easily able to remember and to describe what the different dragons are. And she said, I think using the dragons as a way to talk about how students and others are feeling allows them to relate and also understand their individual needs. This is really important because we're all different. And one of the kind of critiques of offering sort of well-being sessions in schools is, you know, not everybody likes yoga or not everybody likes mindfulness of the breath. The point is, what do you do to activate your green dragon? And how can I help you to do that? And how can we communicate about your way of getting green? Particularly important for youngsters with special educational needs, because they may not like a hug may not be green for them. Yeah, or walking in nature may not be green for them. So how do we start that dialogue and take care of our individual needs? Here's some of the artwork with Play-Doh and coloring in what we call the Charlie dragons from one of the primary schools. And also here an example where the teacher was able to communicate very quickly with the mental health support team about the red dragons and what was going on in the classroom. And they particularly like this 2 red dragons can't solve a problem lesson, which is from the red dragon theme, training in nonviolent communication and how do we manage when there's 2 red dragons around. Here, one of the testimonials was saying that a youngster that found it difficult to talk about emotions was able to use the dragon language. And then the second testimonial down there below, somebody getting really creative, putting on the Jungle Book song and did 5 minutes of dancing in order to help manage some chaos at the start of the classroom time. So we have an app now which is supporting our training and delivery of the What Color is Your Dragon curriculum in schools. And we've got, as I mentioned before, looking here on the right, 3 different kinds of curriculum: early years, Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, and the Dragon Foundations, which also includes the educator wellbeing and some of the school leadership training. And this is really what you need for a whole schools approach. It's an investment of time and money, but we fundamentally believe that this is the route to developing mental wealth across the whole school community. And when you go into the app, we've got these Dragon Foundations, which has an introduction to the dragons, including some of our research, some of the most up-to-date policy documents about the whole schools approach. The science is the theoretical training around the approach, including what is trauma-informed, the brain regions, the science behind the 3 dragons, the science of the brain's braking system and the attentional system. And then some tips about how to teach the core activities which flow across the different themes that are taught in the Learning to Love Your Dragon curriculum. And then there's the staff wellbeing module there as well. Tips on how you can integrate the language of the dragons in performance reviews, team meetings, the staff room, and staff activities. Each of the levels of curriculum has PowerPoint presentations that you can download. The app can be accessed through a web platform, which will allow you to easily either broadcast to a TV in the classroom or to download onto your school system the PowerPoint presentations, the lesson plans, and the worksheets. And here you can see an example from Key Stage 2. Lots of tips in there as well from what we've discovered, working with our pilots, tips for teachers in there about things they can do and extension activities. And the whole schools approach just also includes the parents. So we've got a free gift on the app for parents called Staying Calm in the Storm. And this is something that when Raquel and I are working with parents in the clinic, the first thing that we do with parents is we get them to explore their own relationship to their own red dragon. Because Nothing is more stressful than for a parent than a child that's stressed out and perhaps showing some signs of mental distress. And so what can really help in that situation is for parents to make contact with their own red dragons and learn how to soothe, because two red dragons can't solve a problem. And what we find in our clinical work with parents in the dragons work is, I would say probably about 40 or 50% of what's going on for the child is managed or mitigated by the parents learning how to relate to their own red dragons in a different way, how to put some language to their own red dragons, and start to model to their child different ways of being with distress, because the child is getting all their information about how to manage difficulties from looking at the adults in the world around them. So this Calm in the Storm is freely available. It's actually pretty extensive. We've got some introductory information about Red Dragon and the science behind it. Then there's 5 short lessons on how you can begin to notice red dragons, explore red dragons, and the science behind it. So in terms of delivery of the dragons, we have a hybrid model, as I mentioned before. And in this hybrid model, we have Mary Louise Morris or myself delivering the on-site training to your team. And then you have access to the self-paced learning. And this is through the Dragon Academy app, where I'll give access to the staff team. And when you're in the Dragon Academy app, you're able to go into a dragon community, and you're also able to ask questions and share insights. And then you also have access to mentoring and coaching as you go through the delivery program. So that's almost it. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can. Everything starts with a conversation. And here's the email where you can get in touch, or you can, let's go old school. You can give me a ring on my phone and we'll have a conversation. But thank you very much for your attention.